Good morning. I'm playing catch up because I've been very poorly. And the first thing I want to catch up on is a set of short stories. And there's several things to say in no particular order. The first is that I really like short stories, and I always forget that. Because I find them really useful, that they don't take very long. You can have a car journey, or sometimes I'm sat waiting for the kids to finish something. So actually, fill your Kindle with short stories. They're super. The second thing to say is that they can be a mixed bag, can't they? So just because you love an author doesn't mean that you'll like every single thing they produce. So this is a set of short stories by Sarah Dahl, and this is the first in the series. There are 6 or 7. And they're called The Tales of Freya, and we're in kind of Viking land. They're rude. I'm telling you now, we're in the erotic section of the library. The first one is called The Current. They're very beautifully written in historical sense. And they're all, well, this is where it gets complicated. So they're all quite separate stories set within a time frame. Some of the characters connect, but they're all kind of unique stories. You will want to read them all if you like that kind of thing. So 2 of them, I had no clue what was going on. 2 of them were not fabulous in the sense that the rest were. So it's not that they weren't good books, it's that they didn't have that same quality that some of the others had. And yet I still enjoyed reading them in the sense that they're very beautifully written. But the main thing that I enjoyed is that there are 3 books where the same characters are in the. So it's the story, and I didn't realise that. So we came across the same characters, and we go from when they meet in book 1, and then we hear more about them. And then there is the most beautiful way of telling their story through modern day archaeologists working backwards, as it were. And then you hear about their lives through this sort of process of, very careful looking at their bones and how they're buried and what that tells us about how they lived. And because you know their story from reading the contemporary version, it's really clever. It's extraordinarily beautiful to learn about them and their lives after the bit we've heard straight from their own mouths. And I think if those were put together and a little bit more, that would just make the most beautiful book. I'm so thrilled that I read those and that I found that in and amongst books, if I'm completely honest, I probably wouldn't naturally go for. Sarah's in our Facebook group, our Readers and Writers Facebook group, and I always try to read people in the group first, or try to read people in the group, before others. So I probably wouldn't have come across Sarah's stuff had she not been in our group. And I think that would have been a massive, massive loss for me to not have read this beautiful story. Really, really touching love story. So there's lots and lots of sex. There's a reasonable amount of fighting because they're Vikings and they like fighting. And as I say, the stories are quite short and not connected, except this one thread. But they're really good. They're beautifully written. They're historically very interesting. They're lots of fun. Go and read short stories.